the Cowboys have some free agents here on your home of the Cowboys that have left and gone elsewhere. Now, I think the big one that they're going to replace is Connor Williams. Now, I believe that Connor Williams is going to be replaced via the draft. I really do. I get the sense it's offensive line in round 1, and we can revisit that a little bit later.
But it's fair because where do you say this team has like obvious holes? You're thinking, okay, no Randy Gregory, so there's a need at the edge spot there. You're looking at, okay, Amari's gone, Cedric Wilson's gone, probably going to restock the pond a little bit at wide receiver. Okay, very good. Let's see, what else are we looking at here? Maybe could use some linebacker depth. Okay, cool. Well, what'd you do? For the edge, you went and got Fowler. Mm-hmm. For the wide receiver, you went and got James Washington. And for linebacker, you re-signed Leighton Vander Esch. So you're at least throwing bodies at the position to, minimize the need at least to an extent. Whereas on the offensive line, where we know there's a need for interior offensive line help right now, they haven't made a single move. They haven't thrown a single body at it to just say, hey, just in case, maybe we won't have to reach for one of these guys. They're doing that at the other positions of need. They haven't done it yet for the interior offensive line. And this is clearly a draft where in that 24 spot, you should be dealt a great hand in terms of, if not one, multiple studly plug-and-play day one interior offensive linemen available to you. So it definitely feels like they're moving that way. Now, I wanted to ask you, because earlier you said, you talked about the edge rushers.
Sure.
And there's kind of a litany of them. There's a good depth
in
this class for edge rushers.
There's different tiers. There's certainly some that you can take. But honestly, the ones that's probably going to be there at 24, unless it's George Karlaftis, who you need to watch, because I really think you're going to fall in love with him. I did as well. He is, the more that I watch him, the more it's like, good Lord, as much as I want an offensive lineman, if George Karlaftis, the defensive end at Purdue, is there at 24, I'd very much like to draft him.
A lot of talent in that body.
A lot of talent in that body. But if it's like a Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State, like to me, that's a second-round player. You don't need to take him at 24. I think that's a reach. I'd feel much better about Kenyon Green out of Texas A&M. Now, maybe he's not there. Okay, well, if he's not, you've got Ingram at LSU, who Broadus likes a lot. I think is more of a power guy, if you want that. And quite frankly, this offensive line has struggled in that area ever since Ronald Leary left. I think that's what Green provides. I think Green brings you that nastiness. And I know for a fact, Cowboy scouts in the direction that they want to go in retooling this offensive line is to get back to that physical, nasty nature up front.
Oh, bring all the nasty boys. Now, it is funny. You're kind of talking out of both sides of the mouth a little bit whenever you say you want nasty and then we're going to just wave goodbye to La'el Collins.
No doubt.
But there's other factors involved. It's not nasty and nothing else is factored in. There was more extenuating circumstances with La'el Collins, whether I agreed with it or not.
And if anyone missed it, La'el Collins is now a Cincinnati Bengal.
But I do think they got the last game they played against the Niners, they got out-nastied.
They did.
And I don't think they want to get out-nastied anymore. They got out-swagged back in the playoffs in Los Angeles versus the Rams back in, 2018? They got out-swagged a little bit. And so they kind of figured out a way to get some cool innovation brought into the team offensively to an extent, still not enough to our liking, but now they're looking around going, man, there's a lot of finesse going on here. We need some nastiness. We need some personality. We need some dogs. We need some guys that want to go eat people's faces.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like Green's a face eater.
Green's a face eater. Ingram's a face eater. Zion Johnson is more of the athletic guard.
Now, can you be a face eater and be athletic? Could you be an athletic face eater?
That's a question.
You're just looking for, the rarity there.
Like Zion Johnson is one of those guys where we'd need to talk with him. We'd need to get in the room with him and figure out what kind of person you are. Does he have that mean streak to him? Because the tape's good.
You never really know somebody, finding out, you can't really find out the kind of person someone is until you get in that one room with them.
Yeah, just how are you in the box? Now,
I do some of my best work in the box, but you know that.
I set you up for that one. And shout out to my guy Rich from the 903, who is, he's doing a great job of offering the other side of the perspective. He's a pro McCarthy guy. And he said, again, understanding McCarthy, he likes second-year jumps in players. Clearly we saw that with Terrence Steele. He was all about, there was no hesitation. Okay, While Khan's suspended, boom, Terrence Steele get in there and play. He loved what he saw. Now Terrence Steele's your starting right tackle going into year 3. So he points out Farniok, who was their 7th-round pick, who got to play quite a bit in that Philly game at the end of the year out of Nebraska, and Josh Ball, guys that you shouldn't ignore. Their progression going into year 2. I will say, I don't know. Josh Ball to me doesn't seem like a player, but I could be completely wrong. Maybe he does indeed take that evolution. I know a lot of us were thinking the same thing about Dalton Schultz, and now look, Dalton Schultz is a top 10 tight end in the National Football League. Some think he's top 5, but he's definitely top 10. There's no doubt about that. Now, there's some free agents to keep in mind. Will Hernandez. Talk about nasty. Now, this guy underperformed for the Giants. He was a player that we were all loving coming out of the draft in 2018. Out of UTEP, just a big body, throws people out of the way, started 56 out of a possible 62 games, mostly at left guard, also played some on the right side. Cowboys were high on him during the pre-draft process. He was one of the 30 draft visits, and he has not lived up to the hype, but he has proven that he's got some experience. So if they want to go the free agent route and go ahead and, like they have with Fowler, to your point, like they have with James Washington, just go ahead and sign a free agent to where now it's like, okay, we don't have a glaring need at guard to where we don't even have a starter right now because it doesn't seem like Connor McGovern can anchor that left guard spot. That's a name to watch. Another one, Billy Price, who was drafted by Cincinnati in the first round of the 2018 draft. He's played guard and center, so he has some flexibility there. You've got Trey Turner, who I loved coming out of the draft. He was selected in the 3rd round in 2014 by the Panthers. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. You're looking at an older guy, but he can come in. I mean, he's probably was the Steelers' best lineman. Now, he was the best of the worst, but that's a good player in Trey Turner. And then Billy Turner. And we had a lot of guys that for some reason we have a bunch of Packer fans in this area, but anytime Billy Turner's name was brought up, the Packer fans spoke very highly of him. He literally can play every single position along the offensive line. This team still needs a backup swing tackle unless that's going to be Josh Ball. But Billy Turner, interesting name. He's 31 years old. That could be a bargain bin type category signing. Just some names that are still free agents if they want to fill that roster out.
Man, Billy Turner, North Dakota State. I remember when he was coming out, people liked him quite a bit of a raw guy. He goes to Miami, who's needed offensive line help for, I think, the last 30 years now, and they couldn't get anything out of him, man. They couldn't get anything out of him. Then he goes to Green Bay. He protects Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know, maybe it's just like, oh, there's actually a good quarterback behind me. I probably should be good. You're protecting quarterbacks in Miami, and you're like, what am I doing here? These guys don't even deserve my protection. You get to Green Bay, and you're like, here's a Hall of Famer back there. All right, he deserves my best. And so maybe that's what happened. I don't know, but Billy Turner went from oh my God, he's not good enough to play for the Dolphins to, man, the Packers are like, this guy's pretty dang good. Now he's available. He'd be a guy I'd be interested in. I mean, any one of those guys, really. Because, again, you're just looking for a body. Like, James Washington's not changing the wide receiver room for the Cowboys.
And it's not even to say these guys will start for you.
Yeah.
They could be a starter. They could be a depth option.
Yeah, and you need a lot of that along the offensive line because there's always issues there. And having a veteran guy who can play multiple positions, like those are all valuable. So I'm cool with getting any of those guys. I'm sure the Cowboys will at some point try. They will land a veteran offensive lineman, versatile guy that can play some positions, especially on the interior. But I mean, I could see that being something they wait till even after the draft on, honestly.